Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, we're still waiting on Judge to tie and surpass Roger Maris, but I want to kind of throw my 2 cents in to this whole Judge versus Ohtani debate. I know it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, but still I never really threw my 2 cents into this one, so we'll give you a little quick rant about that. But before we do, make sure you subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it. Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and make sure you get content. Again, it's exclusive for you podcast subscribers, so you want to get part of the content machine there, you got to subscribe. So, it's been kind of kicked around the past few weeks, mainly because it was big interest to see CC Sabathia, former Yankee and former teammate of Aaron Judge, and I'm sure they have a great relationship, kind of say that no doubt he thinks Shohei Ohtani is the MVP for this 2022 season. And of course, people debate, of course, Ohtani's the two-way player. Again, he's pretty darn good offensive season he's had. And of course, he has the extra caveat of being a pretty darn good pitcher as well and doing it on a lousy team. And, kind of say, yes, he doesn't have the power numbers. He's not putting up the RBIs and home runs as Judge is. But again, the value he brings to his team in terms of being a great hitter, a great power hitter, as well as a great pitcher, kind of surpasses Judge's quest to go past Roger Maris' 61 home runs. So I can understand that argument there. But in this case, I got to really give it to Judge, though. A couple of reasons. It's called most valuable player and most valuable player to his team right now. And again, the Yankees are about, 6.5 games up in the AL East and definitely seem destined playoff spot there. Whereas the Angels, currently, they're exactly 20 games under 500. So, okay, yes, he's having a great season. But let's say the Angels didn't have Ohtani. All right, so maybe instead of being 20 games below 500, maybe they'll be 30 or 35 games below 500. It's like, all right, well, you're a great player and doing fantastic, but you're really doing nothing for a team and you're on a nothing team. And is it possible that some of your offensive stats against teams that just kind of laying down, I got to play the Angels, I got to be tough. I got to really hit those corners for Ohtani. Well, it's the Angels. They're terrible. If he hits it out, no one cares. No one's watching anyway. So, Ohtani's racking up these numbers on a nothing team against probably opponents that don't really care either way. So a little different when you're Aaron Judge and every pitch now, especially now that he's, at the 60 home run level and, opposing pitchers are getting booed if they throw a ball against him and if they walk him. So, pitching to Judge and pitching Ohtani are just two different things right now. So again, in my view, it's just no debate. Aaron Judge is doing this. Yes, he's not a pitcher, so there's nothing to compare against, but he's having an exemplary season. And just think of this, hitting the 60 home run mark itself. And all the thousands of players that have been in the 100+ years of baseball, there's only been 5 other players that accomplished that. And of course, that was Ruth with 60, Maris with 61, Sosa with 66, and McGuire with 70, and of course, Barry Bonds with 73. So that's just 5 players. So again, Judge has done something that only 5 other players have done before him. And of course, we know all the allegations and suspicions around Sosa, McGuire, and Bonds. So let's just take Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa out of it and just look at Ruth and Maris. That's only 2 other players have done this in the history of baseball, reached the 60 home run mark. So it's just such an amazing feat that it overrides the fact that, yes, Ohtani's a very good pitcher and he has a good record on a terrible team, but it definitely just trumps that. And let's just look at the numbers head on. Judge's batting average, 316, Ohtani, 271. So Judge about 40 points better there. Look at the home runs. Judge at this point is at 60. Ohtani's at 34. So again, almost double the amount of home runs there. Judge, 128 RBI versus Ohtani's 89. So Judge has about 40 more RBIs. Judge has scored 125 runs versus Ohtani's only 85. So again, Judge with about 40 more runs and stolen bases, swiping bags. You would think maybe Ohtani a little quicker there on the foot, but actually Judge has 16 stolen bases versus Ohtani's 11. So you just look at all that, and it's not like Judge is ahead just a little bit by that. It's like large margins, 40 more points in average, double the amount of home runs, 40 more RBIs. So you just look at that, and again, the fact that Judge is doing this, getting this team into the playoffs. And you look at the Yankee offense for this season, I know, yes, they put up a lot of home runs at the end of the day when you look at it, but they've had a lot of periods where it's gone ice cold, especially towards the middle part of the season and shortly after the All-Star break, where there was scratching runs across barely. I mean, there's been majority chunks of the season where literally Judges carried the team, and I think a lot of people look at it's the Yankees. They got a big payroll and they got Stanton, they got Rizzo, and Cole makes $300 million, and got blah 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 blah. Well, but really, if you look at it, it's the Yankee offense. Beginning of the season, I think it was much more fluid, but for a lot of it, it's been really touch and go and stall and a lot of cold spots. But, with all that in mind, Judge has really been the consistent, steady Eddie, and really, he's stayed healthy. In the past he's had some, injury issues, whether it was a wrist, the oblique. I mean, he's stayed healthy. He's been playing every game, playing outfield, and of course that's another dimension there. I mean, he gives you pretty much Gold Glove caliber defense, and playing a large chunk of the season in center field, kind of, out of the water for him. But I guess he can handle it. I always thought, he would burn out a little bit, but I guess not in that respect. So he gives you amazing offensive numbers. Gold Glove caliber defense. I mean, he's a big guy, but he could dive for balls. He's 6'7". He jumps up. He robs home runs. He's got a gun for an arm. He could gun people at home. He guns people at second base. So if you look at the total package there, to me, it's just not a debate. Judge definitely should be the MVP of the 2022 season. And again, to be fair, also just mention Ohtani's numbers as a pitcher: 148 innings pitched, a 13-8 record, and a 2.4 ERA. Again, this is on a lousy team that he probably doesn't get a lot of run support, and this defense is probably not the greatest. So yes, that is worth mentioning. And I think, if it was a normal circumstance, maybe if Judge only had like maybe 45 home runs and wasn't chasing these records, then maybe, yes, he would make the case for more Ohtani. But just the fact that Judge is overwhelmingly doing this, and again, he's doing this on a team that's going to be in the playoffs. And again, without him, I mean, just the way this Yankee team has been this season with the cold spells and, Cole not really having a great season, the bullpen kind of suspect up and down a little bit. This would probably barely be maybe a wild card team, and maybe not even be a playoff team without Judge. So I just think all the value Judge brings, it's just a no-brainer. And I guess CC maybe as a pitcher, he probably respects Ohtani's a pitcher as well and just knows, the grueling effect that goes into that. So maybe that would kind of skews his judgment there. But again, no doubt about it, Judge should be the 2022 MVP. And I think he will be. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. So it was a quick rant. So it was a quick little installment. But again, if you weren't a podcast subscriber, or if you happen to come upon this podcast, you wouldn't hear it. So if you want to get content like this in the future, make sure to subscribe. Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Catch you next time.